Hello, this is the Stories Beside channel. I release videos every day for you. Subscribe and click the bell.
Kayla lay curled up on the dirty mattress, less hungry that way. It was the third day she couldn't bring herself to go to the dumpster where the homeless gathered in the evenings looking for food. She watched from afar with shuddering shrieks of joy as they retrieved bags and containers of leftover food from the homeless insides of the filthy dumpster. Then they sat down nearby and gorged themselves on what they could find. No, I can't do this, Kayla thought. I wouldn't be one of those unfortunates if my parents could see what I've become. Hot tears burned her cheeks, and she wrapped herself in an old stretchy sweater that hung on her like a hanger, but saved her from the chill of the night. A couple days ago, I had everything: a house, a business that my parents inherited from me, money and social standing. And today, I'm sheltering from the rain and wind in a filthy shed that the builders were too lazy to take with them. Oh my God! The girl folded her hands in prayer. Help me. Do not let me die of cold. I have not offended you in any way. Suddenly, Kayla heard the sound of a car pulling up, and she cautiously peeked out of her hiding place. An expensive car pulled up next to the trash cans. A distinguished-looking man got out and took 2 trash bags out of the trunk. He placed them carefully by the trash cans and drove off. Kayla hesitated a moment, fearing that the owner would change his mind and return, then rushed to them, grabbed them, and where did the strength come from? And dragged the wagon. Barely catching her breath, she examined her loot and opened the first bag. Mother dear! She gasped and opened the second one with trembling hands. My God! The girl raised her eyes to the sky. Thank you, you heard my prayers. Kayla, all in black, stared blankly at the grave mound under which her parents had found their final resting place. Familiar and strangers approached her, offering condolences, and she still couldn't believe her parents were gone. Kayla was the only daughter in the family. The father managed to spin off well and create a good business, which should have been inherited by the son, but unfortunately, the couple had only one daughter. The girl did not disappoint her father and became a worthy heiress, received a good education. Just a few days ago, they were talking about all sorts of little things, making plans for a vacation, but these plans were not destined to come true. The accident took the lives of both of them. The woman was left alone, and if it were not for her husband, who all the time while the funeral ceremony was going on, supported her in every possible way, probably would not have stood it, would have fallen into despair. Let's go. Carefully, Gary put his arm around his shoulders. It's time to go home. You're shivering. Yeah. As if awakened from a slumber, Kayla said. Let's go home. I'm tired and I want to be alone. Thank you for being here. Gary put his grief-stricken wife in the car and drove her home. He looked at her sympathetically in the rearview mirror, but didn't say anything, seeing that she didn't want to talk right now. Half an hour later, they pulled up to the house. Gary helped the woman out of the car and opened the front door for her. Honey, you can't be so sad, the man said. You can't change anything. He carefully undressed her and took her into the living room. Think about yourself. You'll have to learn to live without them. Kayla sat at the table in the living room for a long time. In the center of the table was a photo from which her smiling parents looked at her. Honey? Her husband called out to her. Stop sitting. You need to sleep. Who will feel better if you get sick? He walked over to her, picked her up like a little girl in his arms, and carried her into the bedroom. Kayla met Gary at a friend's birthday party. She noticed that a handsome young man kept his eyes on her all evening, but she didn't dare to approach him. Who is it? asked the girl from the hostess of the evening. Did she like him? She laughed. This is Gary, a very promising young man. He is not from our circle. His family is not rich, but he is very smart and courteous. I suggest you take a good look at him. He'd make the perfect husband. That night, Gary dared to approach Kayla. May I have this dance? The young man bowed his head gallantly to the girl. She gave him her hand and accepted the invitation. I see you are alone here, but where is your companion? Alas, there is no one worthy. Kayla smiled playfully at her partner. With whom would I want to share tonight? If I had at least one chance in 1,000 to accompany you tonight, I wouldn't let you get bored. Such a beautiful girl just can't stay alone for long. Kayla laughed. She liked the man's attention. The blatant flattery was naive and ingenuous, but not repulsive. My name is Gary. He introduced himself. And you, Kayla? I couldn't resist asking your friend for the name of the girl I liked. He watched her eyes carefully, noticing the smile on her lips. He smiled in return as well. The sadness was finally gone from your gray eyes. You move well. Did you take dancing lessons? The girl is from a rich family, has all the possible schools, art, music, dance of course, knowledge of foreign languages, and a good education. My father dreamed of an heir, and I was born. Your husband will be lucky. Gary said dreamily. It's rare to meet smart women these days. The music ended, and the young people did not leave each other's side. The young man suggested a walk in the garden. The evening was quiet. They hid in a gazebo from prying eyes. Maybe I wouldn't want to know so much, but I have to live up to my status because someday I'll have to take care of business. Daddy reminds me of that regularly. No, the young man exclaimed jokingly. There will be a real man next to you who will take on his shoulders all the worries about you. Didn't I tell you that I can predict the future? He raised his eyes enigmatically to the sky. I see that soon you will love a blue-eyed, black-haired, tall man, well-built, without bad habits. The character described is remarkably like you. Kayla accepted the flower that had appeared in the hands of her new acquaintance. The young man pressed her hands to his chest. Can you hear my heart beating? You've won me over from the first moment. I don't want to part with you. He brought her hands to his lips. That evening, Gary walked Kayla home. She was pleasantly surprised that he didn't even make an attempt to kiss her. The girl was bewitched by him. Daughter? Her mother met her in the living room. You're glowing. Are you in love? Who is he? The father asked. Do we know his parents? Before he enters our family, I would like to know as much about him as possible. No, Daddy. Kayla kissed her parents and spun around the room, still under the influence of the interaction with the young man. His parents aren't rich, but he's so. She rushed to hug her mother. You're not snobs, are you? You're not going to force me to marry a man from our circle, are you? You have to live with him. Father replied judiciously. I've only known him for a few hours, and it seems I've waited all my life to meet him. I don't want to think about anyone else. Do you believe in love at first sight? What's important to us is that you're happy. You just take your time, look at him carefully, and if he loves not your money, but you, we will not object and bless your marriage. Father is right. Mother is supportive. One must choose with one's heart. We will be happy to accept him into our family, just so that you, my daughter, be happy. Oh, Mom! Kayla thought, wrapped in some old clothes picked up at the dump and trying to protect herself from the chill of the night in the unheated construction trailer. If you had told your gullible daughter that besides the heart, you should listen to your head, I would not have to lie here on a dirty mattress. How could you, with your vast life experience, not see through a lying man? It's not for me to say that. You truly believed in my family's well-being. The woman tried to forget herself with a disturbing dream, and the memory brought her back to the time when she was truly happy. Kayla was taking the death of her parents hard. She hadn't really gotten into business before, and now, grief-stricken, she had shifted all her worries onto her husband's shoulders. She stopped leaving the house, sat all day long in his father's office, did not answer the calls of friends. She stopped caring about anything at all. "Honey!" Gary, dressed in a strict dark suit, was in high spirits. His black hair was neatly styled, his blue eyes sparkling. He adjusted the collar of his carefully pressed shirt, walked over to his wife and kissed her. "Did you sleep badly again?" "Look at you. You don't look after yourself at all. You cannot kill yourself like that. It's been 6 months, and you can't reconcile with the death of your parents. Who's better off because you're crying from morning till night? You don't show up at the firm at all. Come on, get a grip. Life doesn't stand still. I don't think your father would have been happy with your condition. He hoped you'd carry on his business, not get depressed." Gary. Kayla looked up at her husband with tear-filled eyes. I want you to take over the firm. I don't know anything about it anyway. You were in charge of things under your father. It's the right thing to do, especially now that I don't have the energy to run the business. I'm sorry I put all this on you, but it's your father." The man objected. He wanted you to run everything. I can't disobey his will, and it's in the will. Why don't we take our time? You come to your senses and get to the bottom of this, and I'll help you. Gary, my love, I trust you. The woman said sadly, "You're a man. You're still in charge of all my affairs, only with my knowledge. I want to sign everything over to you so that you can dispose of everything without looking back. How stupid am I? Where were my eyes?" Kayla was brought back from memory to reality. How could I not see the falsity in my husband's words and actions? How could I have failed to notice the skillfully laid nets for me? I handed over the keys to the business, which my father built and kept for me, to this greedy swindler. I didn't feel he only wanted me for my money. He so skillfully built his plan that he managed to enrich himself at our expense and take over everything that I inherited from my parents. Business, real estate, money, everything was in his hands. With my own money, he hired people to help him cook up the deal and make him the unanimous owner of everything that belonged to my family. And then, Kayla burst into tears. "Gary, what took you so long?" Capriciously, the wife asked her husband when she heard the front door slam. She was sitting on the sofa in the living room reading a book, with her shoulder-length blonde hair loose and in soft, cozy pajamas. She looked very touching amidst the rich furnishings of the living room. I was about to go to bed, and it is wrong for a husband and wife to go to bed at the same time. They have something to do in bed together. Get undressed, I miss you. Shall we go to the bedroom? Tired, my dear husband? She approached the man, wrapped her arms around his neck, wanted to kiss him, but Gary squeezed her wrist painfully and took a step back. "As of today, you and I are no longer husband and wife." He looked at the woman squeamishly. "And anyway, I'm the boss here now, and I don't want any stranger in my house." "Gary, is this a joke?" Kayla stared at her husband, perplexed. "It's not a joke." "No, it's not a joke." The man took the documents out of his briefcase and threw them on the coffee table. "My dream has come true. I'm rich. This is my house." He spread his arms and shook them, smiling contentedly. "Only mine, and you don't belong here." "What do you mean you're home?" Kayla was indignant. "Actually, it's my parents' house. I inherited it. I don't want to offend your ego, but you have nothing to do with this house. I don't know why you're even having this conversation." "Wrong." Gary smirked. "You signed over your property and business to me, and now I own it, but you have nothing to do with it. What are you trying to say?" "I don't know what's going on." Fear crept into the woman's heart. "Explain to me exactly why you're scaring me." "I don't like this kind of talk. I don't want to hear anything." She put her hands over her ears and shook her head. "Stop it right now. Are you trying to make me angry? You did it. How could it be that you own everything? It's simple." Gary sat down on the couch without taking off his clothes and put his leg over his foot. "I transferred all your inheritance to myself. You have nothing now. You're a pauper. But I gave you permission to run our business, and I'm still the owner of the business. We can both have everything. We're husband and wife." "Yes, but you and I have nothing else in common. You're not my wife." He pulled out his passport and showed me the divorce stamp. "So I own all the property in the business, and you've got nothing." "But I did not give my consent to the divorce," Kayla said confusedly, looking into her husband's blue, cold eyes. "You couldn't divorce me, and no one needs the consent of the other party if you have a lot of money." He jumped to his feet. "I have plenty now. Get out. I don't want to see you again. You don't know how long I've waited for this moment, when I could kick you out the door in the middle of nowhere. I'm so sick of being a foster kid. You can't do this to me." Kayla screamed. "Tell me this is a joke." "Evil but still a joke. Stop it now. No one thought you were adopted. My parents truly loved you as their son. So much so that they left everything to you." Gary shouted angrily. "Though I was the one who ran the business, I was supposed to be the head of the firm, not your errand boy. They just didn't have time to change the will." Kayla tried to talk some sense into her husband. "You can't just get rid of me." "I can, because it's all mine now. Don't you get it yet?" "No, I'm dead serious about getting you out of here right now. I've wasted enough time on you already." He grabbed her shoulder painfully, spun her toward the door, and shoved her so hard that she almost fell. "Get out of my house. I don't want to see you. Forget your way in here. Gary, I love you." The woman looked at her husband pleadingly. "And you said you did. We dreamed of having children. Don't you remember that? We dreamed of traveling together. Remember how good we were together? We loved each other. Where did it all go overnight? Did I love you?" He laughed, and there was so much mockery in that laugh that Kayla realized his husband wasn't joking. "Never, do you hear me? I never loved you. I wanted your money. From the first minute I realized you didn't know anything about business. It would have been easy to fool around, but not your daddy. And then I got lucky, a car accident. I realized my hands were free now. You, by your own laziness, rewrote everything on me. You did not want to delve into the intricacies of business, preferred to indulge in grief for the dead parents, and then I just needed a divorce. That was no problem at all. Great, I did it. This is exactly what I dreamed of from the first day I met you, when I found out you were from a rich family. You fell in love with me like a cat, hanging all over me, dreaming of getting married as soon as possible. So I got married, since you were so eager, and waited for an opportunity. Get out of my life forever, I mean it. If it's not a joke." Kayla tried to resist her husband's rudeness. "Let me at least change. I'm not going out in my pajamas, am I? How am I going to show up there looking like this?" She felt that her self-control was about to leave her, and she would cry. How could her husband have done this to her? After all, there are personal things I want to take with me, documents. I can't even get a job without a passport. I'd like to get some money, at least for the first time. I'm not interested in your wishes. There's nothing of yours here. Everything is mine. Understand? He pushed her out again. Get out of my house. You're not getting a dime. Now feel what it's like to be poorer than a church rat. Gary, for God's sake, you can't put me out on the street like this, for God's sake. Who's gonna stop me? Your daddy? He laughed wryly. Ah, there isn't one. No one will help you. I'm finally going to do something I've wanted to do for a long time. Get out. You have no right to be in my house. He pushed a frightened Kayla outside and closed the door behind her. You should be thankful that I let you leave instead of calling the police and accusing you of trying to break into someone else's house, and I could have had you thrown in jail. So don't thank me, but dismiss your presence. Nobody would have believed you. Everybody in the neighborhood knows whose house it is. When you have money, you can buy any witness you want. Don't make me resort to extreme measures. Go away. Even tears won't help you today. The woman stood on the doorstep of the house her father had built, dreaming of living in a big family. What has happened to us? She thought. Why did Gary, so mean to me, take advantage of my helplessness? How come I gave my heart to the wrong man? How stupid of me. She berated herself. Kayla wandered down the dark alley, tears flowing. I can't get my father's business back and prove that Gary is a fraud and took advantage of the situation. After all, I signed the papers of my own free will and gave up what I had. I can't even file a police report because I don't have a passport. What should I do? Who do I look to for protection? Daddy, I miss you so much. You would definitely put this scoundrel, my husband, now ex-husband, in his place. No one can help me but you. But you're not here. I'm alone and I don't know where to go. Her feet led her to an abandoned construction trailer. No one had been there for a long time. There was a dirty, dusty mattress in the corner. Of course, it was not what she was used to, but the tired and exhausted woman had no choice. She sank down onto the mattress, squeezed herself into a lump, and closed her eyes. Nothing. Thought she was falling into oblivion. I'm going home tomorrow, so maybe Gary's just trying to teach me a lesson. I don't know why though, but I'll stay here for now. I'll get a better morning. My nerves were taut as a string. Kayla couldn't sleep for a long time, but finally tiredness took its toll. Kayla was awakened by the morning chill. Fall was approaching, so pajamas weren't the most appropriate clothing. The woman stood up, stretched out her legs that were stiff from the uncomfortable position, and walked toward the house. She glanced around from time to time to make sure she didn't run into anyone she knew. Kayla was embarrassed to be walking around in her pajamas, and she hoped her husband had come to his senses overnight and would at least give her a chance to pick up her things. She rang the bell. The door immediately swung open as if Gary had been expecting her arrival. What do you want? Blocking the doorway, her husband looked at Kayla contemptuously. Gary? The woman shuffled from foot to foot in the cold, her voice shaking, the sharp wind chilling her to the bone, her silk pajamas chilling rather than warming. We fought enough. I don't know what you were trying to prove to me, but let's call it a day. Will you let me go inside and get my things? What? It's my house. Everything in it is mine. It's not your stuff. Go back where you came from. Did you really think I'd change my mind overnight? You were wrong. We have nothing to talk about. Why do you need all this? My family has never done anything to hurt you. On the contrary, my father tried to teach you everything. I don't understand what happened. Don't you have any sympathy for me? I'm not going to claim anything, but at least let me dress like a human being. I'm ashamed to appear in public like this. And you go to the garbage dump. There are a lot of suitable things for people like you. He openly mocked his ex-wife, then threw angrily. "Get away from my house and don't show up here again, or I'll call the police." "Go away. You won't get anything anyway." He pushed Kayla away and closed the door. The woman, swallowing her tears, walked back to the carriage house. There at least she could take shelter from the wind. She huddled again in a corner, tucked her legs under her, and fell silent, trying to keep warm, her stomach churning with hunger. We should wait until dark, she thought. I can't just walk around town in my pajamas. The first patrol car will pick me up, and I have no ID. Why don't we really look at the clothes? People often leave unwanted clothes by the trash cans. Embarrassing? Yes, but I can't do otherwise, or I risk freezing to death. I have no other choice if I'm going to find out the reason for my husband's strange behavior. She kept telling herself. When it got dark, the woman got out of her hiding place and approached the garbage cans. There were several bags lying around. The next day, she managed to get to her friend who lived nearby, stopped at the entrance and rang the intercom. "Yes, hello." She heard her friend's sleepy voice. "Lucy?" Worried, the woman said, "It's Kayla. Let me in. I need to talk to you." "Kayla?" The woman exclaimed in surprise. "What happened? Why are you wearing such a strange outfit?" The woman saw bewilderment and contempt in the eyes of her acquaintance. "That's what I wanted to talk to you about. Please open the door. I'm not comfortable standing outside. It's cold. What do you want from me?" You see, Kayla spoke in a hurry. "Gary and I had a fight. He won't let me in the house. What do you want from me?" "I don't have any money. You know I'm living on my father's handouts, right? Why don't you lend me your stuff and some money?" "I just haven't eaten since yesterday." "Didn't he even leave you a card?" "No, he threw me outside in my pajamas. That's how it is." The girl stopped talking. "I'm sorry." Lucy suddenly spoke in a haughty tone. "I don't have an almshouse here. I don't give to beggars. I don't want my surroundings to rumor about me, as if I communicate with homeless people. I can't go to your house like this. I'm sorry, I don't have time to talk to you. I'm in a hurry to go to the beauty parlor. I have an appointment tonight. I have no desire to listen to you complain about your husband. I wasn't hired to be your shoulder to cry on. Don't come to me again." She hung up. "Lucy, we're friends." Kayla tried to shout to her, but the answer was silence. How could it be? The woman was upset, crushed. "We've been friends for years. I've helped her out so many times, and now that I need help, she just cut me out of her life. What am I supposed to do?" Kayla thought. Turning around, the woman happened to see a sign for the police department. "That's where I need to go," she rejoiced. "This place will definitely help." She opened the door with determination. "Hey, bum!" A young policeman at the entrance shouted at her. "Where are you going? Why do you allow yourself to insult me?" The woman was indignant. "You don't know anything about me." "I don't need to know anything." "Get out of here, get some sleep." "But I don't drink. I need help." "We know you." The policeman laughed. "Don't have enough for a bottle?" "I don't serve in the morning. I need to get my papers back. My husband took them from me." "And you have a husband, so go to him. Don't hang around here." "How dare you talk to me like that?" "I need help. Who do I turn to?" "Listen." The young man looked threateningly at the intruder. "Get out of here before I put you away for 15 days. Settle your family affairs amongst yourselves. She's going to write a statement here. How smart is she? I've got enough to deal with without you. Go on." He grabbed Kayla under the elbow and led her toward the exit. The whole place stank. "You're disgusting to touch. Don't make me have to use force." The policeman pushed her out into the street. "God," she prayed to herself, Help me to live. Nobody wants to help me. Not even the police can give me justice. But I will not give up for anything. You only help me. Teach me where to go next." So, racing thoughts in her head, Kayla walked back to the wagon. It was getting dusk outside. She saw some crates put up from a nearby store, next to the trash cans. The woman hesitantly approached, looking around and saw containers of salads, bread, some other food. Forgetting her pride, she grabbed what was at hand and returned to the wagon. Kayla greedily ate the discarded food and thanked the store employees for the fact that the food was quite tolerable. Judging by the smell, not the first freshness, but the woman didn't care. She was disgusted to realize that she had stooped to eating from a dumpster, but the shame was drowned out by a great desire not to starve to death and to punish the offender. "I'll do anything to make justice prevail." Eating the food, Kayla swore to herself. Suddenly she heard the noise of a car engine. The woman cautiously peeked out of her hiding place. An expensive foreign car stopped near the garbage cans. The driver got out, placed 2 garbage bags by the bins, returned to the car, and immediately disappeared from the eyes of the astonished Kayla. She, not thinking long, rushed to the trash can, knowing that it was impossible to delay. There would be many people who wanted such a tidbit. She picked up the bags, and where did she get the strength from? Dragged them to the wagon. After a little breathing, opened it and marveled. Both bags were filled with things that can turn a gray mouse into a queen. Jesus. Kayla raised her hands to the sky. "Did you hear my prayers? You sent me to the help of a man who had given me such a precious gift." She went through the contents of the packages. "I can't believe my eyes." The woman rejoiced. "And cosmetics, and everything necessary for hygiene, even a comb." She laughed. "What's this?" Kayla took the velvet box in her hands. "Jewelry? Wow. No, I'll hide them for now, in case this man comes to his senses and comes back for them. I don't want any trouble. Oh my God! Fill the life of the man who gave me this treasure with grace. Now everything will be all right." Laughing, she tried on the dress. It was just right for her, a little long, but she looked great in heels. "Tomorrow I'll go and write an application about the loss of my passport and let them try to refuse me." She shook her fist at the darkness. That night, Kayla slept like a dead woman. She didn't feel hungry from the excitement. She didn't even feel cold, and in the morning, having cleaned herself up, she went to the passport office first thing in the morning. No one even thought of chasing away a pretty, richly dressed young woman. Carefully styled, thick blonde hair, and skillfully applied makeup left no doubt that the stranger was from high society. Stepping outside from the stuffy office, Kayla exposed her face to the last warm ray of sunshine and squeezed her eyes shut, breathing in the fresh, cool fall air. She walked into the thrift store and handed over one of the chains. "I'm not doing anything wrong," she thought as she paid the passport fee. "I will return the money to the owner if necessary, and I need the passport to get a job." The woman went to the store, bought herself a bottle of kefir and a fresh, crispy bun. What a blessing it was to eat proper food instead of rummaging through a garbage can. She enjoyed, sent piece after piece into her mouth, and savored every sip of kefir, and it seemed that it was the most delicious thing she had ever eaten in her life. God bless the man who gave me a chance to start living again. I'll get my papers, rent a cheap room, and one day I'll deal with my ex-husband, pay back every cent. I'll take back the business he swindled out of me, and if I can't get it back, I'll make even more money and ruin Gary, and I won't feel sorry for him one bit. I'd rather destroy my father's business with my own hands than have his business left in the hands of that unworthy man. But it's your own fault, isn't it? An inner voice whispered, You entrusted him with the management of your father's business. It's nothing, she answered herself. There will be a holiday on my street, but I promise that I will never open my soul to any man again. Adam sat at the meeting, listened to the customers' wishes, took notes, and waited for the moment of the deal. At such moments, he could think of nothing else. Even the phone, which did not stop ringing during the day, could not distract him from his work. Suddenly, the phone came to life and a message popped up on the screen. While you are earning money, your wife is having fun with her lover. Then came a photo. The man turned pale. His Nora, his beloved wife in the arms of a stranger. What the hell is this? He thought, this can't be true. What if it is? Jealousy flared up inside. Adam stood up. I apologize. I'm in a bit of trouble. I have to leave immediately. Can you finish without me? My deputy is on top of signing the deal. Mason? He turned to the young man who was making the presentation. I know you won't let me down. I'll be back in a couple hours. Yeah, I'll do it, Adam. Don't worry. I hope nothing serious has happened. Mason looked worriedly at the chief. I don't know yet. Adam apologized and jumped out of the meeting room. The man ran headlong into the parking lot. I have to make sure the photo is authentic. He thought as he got behind the wheel, and the car sped off. I want to look the traitor in the eye. I want to hear what she has to say for herself. It's time to set things straight. He glanced at the screen once more, checking against the address given by the message. A few minutes later, Adam pulled up outside the hotel and turned off the engine, sat for a few minutes, gathering his strength, then abruptly swung open the door and staggered into the building. What if the message and the photo were sent to sabotage a good deal, and all I saw was Photoshop? Suddenly, he thought, then I'll dig up the ground, but I'll find the person who benefited from it. He'll be held accountable for trying to sully my wife's honorable name. Although, Adam clenched his fists. The photo looks too much like the truth. All right, we'll figure it out. He decided, approaching the receptionist's desk. The girl? Smiling with only one lip, Adam said, My wife prepared a surprise for me and said that she would wait for me in the room of this hotel. He dictated his wife's details. A key, would you be so kind? The girl did not even call the room to make sure whether they really want to see a new guest in the room, and gave the key. Would you like a bouquet of flowers in your room? The receptionist offered. Thank you. My boss will give me a ride. Adam lied, trembling with excitement. The girl shrugged her shoulders, but did not object. The man quickly went up to the floor. He stood at the door, hesitating to open it. Finally, he gathered his courage and entered the room. The first person the man saw was the hapless lover. He was walking around in his underpants, holding a bottle of sparkling wine in his hand, occasionally touching the net. Pleasant music was playing. Women's laughter was heard. Adam? Emma was stunned. How are you here? Adam, without answering, walked into the room. The lover was speechless. He tried to say something, but only silently opened his mouth. The trader's wife ran in, hurriedly pulling the blanket over herself. Adam, this all means nothing to me. It's not what you thought. What was I supposed to think? It's all very clear. You didn't rent such an expensive room for a tea party, did you? Adam clutched at his heart, trying to stop the pain. Darling, Nora, throwing back the blanket, rolled off the bed and rushed to her husband. Are you sick? Yes, I feel sick. Slowly, Adam said, pulling away from her friend, who realized that she was standing in front of her husband in a semi-transparent red negligee, and immediately retreated, grabbing the bedspread. I feel sick because I've been fooled all this time." He tried to calm his rapid breathing. "Emil?" He turned to the man still standing in his underwear and with the bottle in his hand. "You've been to our house. I trusted you. Not a single family holiday was without you. While I was away on business, you were assigned to look after my wife, and you took advantage of my absence and climbed into someone else's bed. You did, Nora." Turned to his wife, the deceived man. "You claimed Emil was your cousin. Lied then, and I, a blind man, had nothing against him. Hosted him in my house, pleasured him in every possible way. How could he be a cousin? I'd love to punch you in your satisfied face." He swung at his wife's lover, who recoiled in fright. "I won't get my hands dirty. Go on," Emil yelled. He still held the bottle in his hand and didn't get dressed. "It'll only cost you," the man said defiantly, recovering from his fright. He realized that Adam had no intention of fighting him. "I'll make such a fuss, I'll make a big deal out of it. I know, that's why I won't get my hands dirty. You can't solve anything with your fists anyway, and I don't want to do time for such a bastard. One thing to defend the right thing, or stand up for someone. But here there is nothing to protect, no honor or conscience left at the unworthy wife. I'll make it easy." He grabbed Nora's purse, opened it and took out the key to the apartment. "I don't want you in my house." He turned to his wife. "Stay in what you wore to meet your lover." "Adam," the woman whimpered. She, wrapped in a blanket, reached up to kiss her husband. "Don't be angry. It was a momentary weakness." "Yes, I admit I'm trashy, but you're not home all the time. Do you want me to send him away now? I'll never open the door to our home where you and I were happy again." Key word we were. Adam answered her harshly. "We are no more, just as there is nothing of yours in my house, all bought by me and with my money. You will get nothing in the divorce. You made your own choice. I won't get in your way, lovers." The man grinned bitterly and headed for the door. "Adam, you can't leave me. You said you loved me." Realizing that her husband was serious, Nora exclaimed, "I will die without you." "Without my money, you mean?" The man looked away. "It's no longer my concern. Let Emil provide you with a secure existence." "Hey, Emil." He turned mockingly to his lover. "She loves expensive salons and clothes from the latest European collections." "Thank you. You don't even realize what a favor you've done me. Goodbye, my friends." He slammed the door, stood in the corridor, coming to his senses. Behind the ostensible mockery, there was despair, and it was so heavy that he wanted to howl. Barely moving his feet, Adam returned to the hotel lobby, returned the room keys to the receptionist, and went home. The girl looked at him carefully, but did not dare to ask him anything. She felt that the visitor was not in the right state to answer questions. The man did not remember how he got into the car, how he got to the apartment. He only came to his senses when he tried to insert the key into the keyhole of the door of his apartment with shaking hands. He entered without turning on the light and without undressing, threw himself on the bed, beat his fists on the soft bed until he was exhausted. Soon he fell asleep. I lay there for a long time, trying to realize what had happened. I was deceived by the woman I loved so dearly, he thought, to whom I had opened my soul. She betrayed me, spit on my feelings, and I trusted her. My wife, for whom I would have done anything, had led me astray for so long. Did she ever love me, or was it all for money? He groaned with impotent anger at his gullibility. The man had not expected that he would be so painful to experience the separation from his unfaithful wife. They were having a good time at my expense. I did not spare anything for her. She never needed anything, and did not know where the money comes from. I worked like a hard laborer so that my beloved had everything she wanted, repaid with black ingratitude. Adam rolled over onto his back, lying with his arms spread, staring aimlessly at the ceiling. A dark, agonizing emptiness had settled in his heart, which had recently been filled with love. He closed his eyes. Immediately his imagination drew the frightened face of his wife when she realized that the deception was revealed. Just then the insistent ringing of the doorbell sounded. Adam did not move from his seat. He didn't want to see anyone. Then there was a drumming at the door, and he heard Nora's voice. Reluctantly, he got up and went out into the hallway. "Adam," his wife begged him. "Open the door, please. I know you're home. Let me explain everything." "Don't be silent." The artificial flames in the electric fireplace were not soothing. Their reddish tongues reminded Adam of the bloody wounds his wife's adultery had left on his heart. We loved to sit in that chair, hugging and clinging to each other. The man spoke regretfully as he watched the flames dance behind the glass door of the fireplace. His voice echoed in the empty apartment. We weren't cramped then. We wanted to stay close to each other all our lives and grow old together. And we also dreamed that in the evenings we would walk along the beach, holding hands, listening to the splash of the waves and admiring the sunset. Yes, only next to me I saw a completely different person, not this trash, who traded me for a smarmy lover. She had derailed my whole life, destroyed my faith in good, tender feelings. He closed his eyes again, remembering the first time he'd met Nora. Adam stopped for a bite to eat at his favorite cafe. He was a regular here, so the table where he usually had breakfast was always free. The man settled down in his usual place and looked around while waiting for the waiter. His attention was attracted by a girl. She impatiently gestured, tried to hide behind her ear, not obedient strand of thick black hair, which lay in waves on her shoulders. The stranger was crying, sobbing like a little child, sighing convulsively, her narrow shoulders shuddering. She did not have time to wipe away the large tears that rolled from her eyes, and they fell on her dress, leaving a wet trail. Adam smiled. Such a picture would not leave anyone indifferent. He waved to the waiter, pointing to the table where the stranger was sitting. He stood up, walked over to her, and sat down across from her without asking permission. "Hello, my heart bleeds when I see a girl crying." He smiled broadly, trying to draw attention to himself. "Can I help you?" He whispered something in the waiter's ear, while he looked at his vis-a-vis with interest. The girl looked at him with tear-stained eyes, wiping her swollen nose with a paper napkin. It was so touching that the man's heart trembled. It struck Adam that the stranger was not wearing makeup. She didn't need it, though. Dark, long, fluffy eyelashes framed expressive brown eyes, eyebrows, gracefully arched, the envy of any beauty. She definitely liked him. "You can't help me," the girl said with a curve of her plump lips. "I've failed the session, and it's a total disaster for all my dreams." Guessing that the stranger probably came from the province, there are no such knave people in the city. Adam decided to deal with the situation, at least to support the hapless student. Meanwhile, the waiter brought the order. "Will you have breakfast with me?" The man offered. "I don't have the money to pay for it." The girl cast a hungry look at the table, where the waiter put out plates of salads, cakes, and cups of coffee. All that was left was to buy a return ticket. He picked up her empty water glass. "Do you really think I've let a woman pay for a table? What kind of men have you had to socialize with?" Adam looked at her perplexed. "Eat and tell me in detail what happened to you." "My name is Adam, by the way. What's yours?" "I'm Nora." The girl blushed embarrassedly. The usual story. She sobbed again. I couldn't pass the session, so I'll have to take a leave of absence. They'll kick me out of the dormitory now, so I have nowhere to live. And you don't want to go home? Adam finished her thought. Where to? Nora burst into flames. To the village? What would I do there? No work, no prospects. Mother, always suffering from lack of money. Father drunk from morning to night. Their gardens for me, that's where they sit. She slashed herself in the throat with the edge of her palm. Since I was 5 years old, I was forced to work in the garden. I so dreamed that in the city, I'll get a foothold, graduate from university, find a decent job, and now, she cried again. Oh, come on. He stopped her. Stop being so damp. There's no such thing as a hopeless situation. I'll see what I can do to help you. Come on, how can you help me? Wiping her tears with a paper napkin, Nora said sadly, I have nowhere to live anyway. It takes time to find a job. Even if a miracle happens and I get a job somewhere, when will I get a salary? On credit, no one will rent a room. I've only got 2 days to vacate the dormitory. You can stay with me temporarily. Unexpectedly for himself, Adam suggested it. Why? He hurried up, afraid that the girl would refuse. I live alone, in a 4-room apartment. I only come home to sleep. We cannot even meet. No. She shook her head, his new acquaintance. I can't. It's indecent. If you're afraid I'll make a pass at you. He smiled, noticing how the stranger blushed. I mean, you can be quite calm here. I don't throw myself at a girl if she doesn't want me to. Besides, all the bedrooms are locked from the inside with a key. Noticing the doubt in Nora's eyes, he made what he thought was the last and most convincing argument. I won't charge you for accommodation, but you'll cook and clean the apartment for me in return, and I'll think about a job. Is it a deal? You're very kind to me, but I don't take no for an answer. Adam said firmly. He glanced at his watch and hurried off. Listen, I don't have much time. Why don't I take you to the apartment, show you around, and give you the key? Do you have a lot of stuff? Not at all. Nora was embarrassed. Just a small suitcase and a bag. Will you move out of the dormitory by yourself? The girl nodded. That's fine. Let's go. He went back to the apartment, showed the room, gave the keys and left, leaving the new acquaintance at a loss. In the evening, Adam was waiting for a clean, tidy apartment and a sumptuous dinner. Oh, I wasn't wrong about you, cheerfully said the man, returning from work in the evening and looking at the set table with amazement. It looks appetizing. Where did you learn to cook like that? He took a bottle of wine from the bar, filled the glasses. It's all Mom's. Nora's eyes lit up with joy. She couldn't believe her luck, because in the morning she had thought she would have to go home, and now she had a single man, and a handsome one at that. She looked at him with interest, dark, slightly wavy hair, blue eyes, straight nose, lips, with a clearly defined line of lips on the stubborn chin dimple. Tall, athletic, on him perfectly sat strict expensive suit. Well, shall we drink to our casual acquaintance? He looked at the girl carefully, took a sip, put the glass on the table, and started eating. Emma. Closing his eyes with pleasure, he savored. How delicious. I suggest we have a drink for a browder cat? He stood up and walked over to Nora. She stood up too. Adam looked into her brown eyes and kissed her slowly, savoring the taste of her lips. He decided not to go too far so as not to scare the girl with his assertiveness. He returned to his seat, leaving her completely confused. So we've met. You wanted to think about a job for me. Coping with indignation, the girl spoke up. You, he reminded her. We agreed to tell each other you. I haven't decided what to offer you yet. Adam really had no idea what she could do at his firm, but he couldn't leave his new acquaintance in the lurch. He liked her. For now, I think, let's you keep an eye on the house, clean, wash, iron shirts for me, live here, and I'll give you some money for personal expenses. How's that sound? When your sabbatical is over, you can go back to school. I agree. Nora was delighted. The prospect of living with a rich and handsome man beckoned, and she didn't have to do much. The work was familiar. Secretly, she hoped to win Adam's heart. Her feminine instincts told her that he would not mind reciprocating. Since that day, Nora began to keep the house cozy, washing, ironing Adam's things, cooking him breakfast and dinner, and even packing lunch for work. Sincere care about him conquered the man. He could not resist and decided that this is the kind of wife he had always dreamed of. Beautiful, intelligent, and so homely. Nora combined all the qualities that had always attracted him. Why don't you marry her if she's so wonderful? Asked Adam, his closest friend, as they relaxed in a bar after a week of work. I guess you're right, the man replied thoughtfully. It's time to make up my mind. I've had enough of being a bachelor. I have enough money to provide for my wife. I have achieved everything in life. It's time to think about an heir. My friend laughed. Make up your mind before someone else steals her from under your nose. And Adam decided. One evening he came home with a huge bouquet of flowers. Nora. Unusually, he said solemnly, I've only just met you, but I feel like you're the woman I'm ready to spend the rest of my life with. I am no longer 18 years old. I am ready to take responsibility for the family and consciously go to this step. Tell me, will you marry me? Nora, who had not expected such a quick confession, became emotional. Oh, Adam, I've never met a man like you before. And of course I will be your wife. I am so glad that I came to the cafe on that happy day and met you. You were sent to me by fate. Now I am not upset that I had to leave the university, because then I would never have met you. She confessed her feelings for him so sincerely that he did not doubt the rightness of her choice. The man put a gold ring on her finger. Ah, Nora said admiringly, looking at the gift. How beautiful is it? Thank you. She threw herself on her chosen one's neck and kissed him. In her heart, she rejoiced that everything was going so well in her life. Maybe I seem old-fashioned, but let's not have a lavish wedding. Adam suggested, we'd rather go on a wedding trip abroad. Wherever you wish. Yes, my love. Nora agreed to everything, as long as the fairy tale she had accidentally fallen into never ended. The wedding was celebrated modestly, with few friends and relatives. Nora, why didn't your parents come to the wedding? Asked the girl mother-in-law. I would really like to meet them. Adam told me that they are ordinary people, but that's great. I would say thank you to them for such a wonderful daughter. The daughter-in-law blushed with joy. Adam was like a changed man. I've never seen him so happy. We have there a little family problems, which did not allow to be at the wedding. The girl answered evasively. She could not admit that she was ashamed to invite her village parents to a decent society. She knew that her father was bound to get drunk and worse, to cause a debauch, and they didn't have any decent clothes for such a celebration. But they would come someday, she promised discreetly. After the wedding, Nora felt as if she'd been replaced. First, she stopped cooking. Honey? Adam came home from work and once again found food from the restaurant on the table. I missed home-cooked food. He reached up to kiss her. I've been to enough restaurants. Ah, honey, I didn't have time. Don't be angry. The woman pouted her lips resentfully, hugging him and deliberately harder, unzipping her robe so he could admire her seductive breasts. I had to go to a beauty parlor. You want your wife to be beautiful, don't you? Or do you feel sorry for the money I spend on myself? You're already beautiful. The happy husband smiled condescendingly. And you know very well that I do not spare anything for you, but still I like to eat what you cook. He swooned in her arms and forgot about everything in the world. I looked for a beautiful pants. They fit me so well that the seller in the boutique advised me to order a photo shoot. You'll even give me money, won't you? Of course, darling. He took a card out of his jacket pocket and handed it to his wife. Here, designed especially for you. Use it without denying yourself anything, but still be prudent. You are just a miracle. The woman clapped her hands and kissed her husband tenderly. By the way, Adam remembered. There's a bill from the cleaning company. Do we use their services? Yes, I ordered them. Nora confessed. I'm sorry about the manicure I got recently. I don't want the skin on my hands to be wrinkled and saggy when I'm old. Why do you think I go to beauty salons, visit various spa procedures, all to look attractive? I even signed up for yoga. You've been working out, right? I'm still doing it. I don't want to turn into an old woman, so I'm keeping in shape. It's all for you. Those cleaning girls clean the apartment in half an hour, and I'd have to spend all day on it. Come here. Adam took his wife in his arms and carried her into the bedroom. You're the most beautiful. Do whatever you want, if you want. I have enough money for all your whims. He wanted to fulfill her every whim. I understand that you want to enjoy life until we have children, then you won't have time for that. I don't want to limit you in anything, but I think it's time to think about in hair. What do you think? Oh, darling, Nora whispered, pining for her husband's caresses. I'm so happy. I love you so much. You are so. Adam was at the pinnacle of bliss. He was not interested in other women. He was swimming in the sea of joy that his wife gave him. It seemed that nothing could overshadow their family prosperity, but as it usually happens, the fairy tale ended in a very unexpected way. Adam struggled to pull himself out of his memories. The apartment was dark. Only the not bright flame of the fireplace cast a shadow on the floor. The man stood up. We should pack Nora's things. He thought, I don't want anything to remind me of her. He made his way to the bedroom, opened the closet, and began putting expensive brand-name clothes into garbage bags. Wow, what's this? Adam retrieved a folder safely hidden underneath the dresses. He opened it and turned pale. That bitch decided to leak information to competitors about my most profitable deals. I wonder who she works for. Oh, and there's a cell phone. Let's see. An unfamiliar number, a message? Wow. Adam was flipping through the notes and getting more and more furious, his face tense. And I wondered why lately all the lucrative contracts were falling through, and we had to settle for the small ones. She passed my every move to a nameless interlocutor, and judging by the dates, for a long time. It all makes sense now. Competitors knew what I want to offer, put forward more favorable terms, and not just tear down contracts. They used the developments of my firm. What a bitch! What was she missing? Pulled out of the province, did not spare anything, and she is not enough. Barely restraining himself, the man with anger threw the last dresses torn off the hanger into the bag, got dressed, picked up the bags and went outside, without thinking, loaded them into the car and took them to the trash. Like this, putting the bags next to the bins, said the man. Somebody will need these expensive clothes, and in my house, so that their spirit was not. Satisfied with rubbing his hands, Adam sat down behind the wheel. "That's it, my dear wife," he said to his reflection in the rearview mirror. "Now it's just a matter of getting you out of my heart. It won't be easy, but I can do it." Back home, Adam put the file in his briefcase. "And I'll deal with you, strange gentleman, tomorrow. It's time to dot the I's and cross the T's. I'll turn the documents over to the police, have them file a fraud case. I'm not gonna let this go. If Nora gets caught, I won't help. Let her get what's coming to her." It's been a month. Adam gradually recovered from the breakup with his wife, filed for divorce, and focused on business. Things in the firm began to improve gradually, which could not help but be gratifying. "Adam?" The office door opened and Clara's secretary appeared. "There is a girl came to us for an interview for the position of a lawyer. Should I invite her in?" "Yes, call her in." Adam put aside his business and got ready to meet the next applicant. On the threshold appeared a pretty young woman. In her gray eyes read uncertainty and fear. "Well, it's understandable, because I don't know if I'll hire her or not." Adam thought, scrutinizing her from head to toe. Something about her appearance made him suspicious. The stranger submitted a resume. On her ring finger, the man noticed a ring very similar to the one he had given to his ex-wife. No way! Adam shook his head, shaking off the obsession. It wasn't exclusive, though. She could have bought one just like it. "Is something wrong?" the woman asked cautiously, noticing the businessman's strange reaction. "No." Coming out of his reverie, Adam said, "Everything is fine. You write that you used to work in your father's firm, but why are you working for me?" "My parents died." With restraint, the woman replied, "Your father also had a construction firm." "Yes, I'm familiar with the specifics of working in construction." Adam was surprised. "You even managed to win a few lawsuits. Commendable." "Well, I think we'll work well together, Kayla. Clara will help you with the paperwork, tell you everything. Come to work tomorrow. I'm a very strict boss, and I don't like tardiness, so keep that in mind." "That's it, you can go." Kayla was over the moon. Getting a job in a prestigious firm was incredibly difficult. She was warmly welcomed into the team. After a week, Adam realized that she was a good employee. He watched her with interest. During breaks, she did not look at the phone screen, but read something all the time. "Kayla?" One day, Adam approached her at the end of the working day. "I need to prepare a draft contract urgently. I'll send you all the data. It may take a long time, but I need to draw up the contract in a short period of time. Otherwise, the contract will leave us for another customer. How much time do I have?" "A day, 2 at the most. Can you stay after work if you need to?" "You won't be lost at home?" "Yes, I can stay late." Without answering any personal questions, the woman informed him. Adam was pleasantly surprised that she immediately agreed, did not object or demand for herself any additional conditions. 2 days later, he congratulated the team on the conclusion of a favorable contract, noting Kayla's excellent work. "We're doing the same thing." Kayla remarked, embarrassed by the attention of the employees who began to congratulate her. "Thank you for appreciating my work." Adam was enjoying talking to this soft-spoken woman who knew almost nothing about her. "Clara?" Notwithstanding his curiosity, one day the man asked, "Do you know if she is married?" "I don't know." The secretary shrugged. "She doesn't discuss her private life with anyone, but there's no stamp in her passport." "I checked. She lives in a rented apartment." "I see," Adam said thoughtfully. Some time later, Kayla had to stay late again. Drawing up the contract, Adam stayed with her because it was necessary to send the documents to the customer on the same day. That was it. Tossing the pen away, the man stood up, straightening his shoulders. "I have to take a break. I'm hungry and I want to order a pizza. Do you like pizza? He asked the woman. I love pizza. She smiled back, especially with mushrooms. If I had a cappuccino with cinnamon, I could sit here till morning. Our tastes match, Adam remarked happily. He quickly ordered food delivery. I noticed that you read during your breaks. What do you read, if it's no secret? Mostly legal literature, but at home I like to read historical books at bedtime. I wanted to be a scientist, but my dad insisted I become a lawyer. I had to hand over the reins to someone when the time came. Do you like music? Adam decided not to go into questions about his personal life, fearing to break the fragile thread of a trusting conversation, but to transfer the conversation to a neutral course. I listen every day, morning and evening. Kayla happily picked up the familiar theme, especially the classics. The pizza arrived. They took a quick bite and plunged back into their work. No important details were to be missed. Adam noticed that he felt relaxed and at ease around this woman. From time to time, he threw an interested glance at her, but she did not notice it. She worked with concentration. She wasn't trying to capture his attention or impress him. It seemed to him that Kayla simply didn't notice how he felt about her, and he didn't even fully understand what was happening to him. I promised myself. At midnight, sitting at home by the fireplace, talking to myself, that no woman would ever enter my heart again. I guess I miscalculated. I like Kayla. I like looking at her, listening to her voice, seeing her work. What to do with all that? How do I know how she feels about me? We should ask her out to a restaurant. Adam decided and, inspired by the idea, went to bed. The next day, he asked Clara to call Kayla. What are you doing tonight? From the doorstep, the man puzzled his subordinate. Nothing much. Kayla was confused. Great, Adam rejoiced. Then I invite you to the restaurant. There will be live music. Do you think it's convenient? The woman hesitated. You are my superior. I am a subordinate. That's why I won't punish you for office romance. Adam laughed, and Kayla blushed. So how? Do you agree to spend the evening with me? Yes, she answered quietly. The evening turned out to be wonderful. They enjoyed each other's company, discussed new literature, argued about modern music, and listened to live sound. Kayla, can I invite you to the dance floor? Adam stood up, extended his hand. Kayla did not refuse. They moved to the beat of the music. Adam inhaling the scent of her toilet water, he was pleased to hold her warm hand. She looked completely defenseless. He wanted to shield her from any worries. Adam walked Kayla home. She hadn't invited him over, and he hadn't asked, realizing she needed time. He himself didn't have a good idea of what this woman meant in his life, did he? They started seeing each other after work and almost every day spent time together. Oh my God, he pondered, sitting in a chair by the fireplace, wrapped in a blanket. I think I love this woman. I'm as ready as a boy to get a star from the sky for her, and I can't help it. I can't keep silent any longer. I want to know how she feels about me. What am I waiting for? He reasoned with himself. I'm not at the age to hide my feelings for long. It's time to admit to myself that I want to marry her. And if she refuses? The man hesitated. Then I'll just shut it down, but I won't forgive myself if my indecision plays havoc with me and Kayla falls in love with someone else. A woman needs clarity. The very next day, Adam bought the ring. For some reason, he decided it would be romantic to take her out for a weekend of skiing. After renting a hotel room, the man went to talk to Kayla. I don't want to seem too intrusive in your eyes, but do you want me to invite you to the ski lodge this weekend? He laughed when he saw the confusion in Kayla's eyes. Of course, I should have asked you if you like skiing before I booked your hotel room. I love skiing. The woman replied. It was just too sudden an offer. Adam could hardly wait for the weekend. The weather was perfect. A light frost pinched their cheeks, but the young people didn't notice it. They were happy to be together. They met at a restaurant after a long ride. Thank you for bringing me here. Kayla, blushing in the fresh air, looked like a mischievous girl, her eyes shining, and a smile on her pretty face. Adam marveled at her. Kayla? He was worried, not sure how to start the conversation. Damn it, I've completely forgotten how to compliment women. The man was silent for a moment, searching for words. Then he suddenly blurted out, Kayla, marry me. He took a ring out of his pocket, took his girlfriend's hand, and put it on her finger. I don't know how you will feel about my proposal, but I can't keep quiet any longer. All the days and nights I think only of you. I once swore to myself that no other woman would ever touch my heart again. I had a difficult divorce. He suddenly found Kayla crying, trying to quickly express everything Adam thought, not noticing the state the woman was in. What's wrong with you? Did I hurt you? He asked worriedly. It's not you. Kayla shook her head. It's about me. I can't accept your offer. But why? Adam shouted so loudly that the customers at the neighboring tables started to look around. You don't like me? If you refuse me, I understand. I have the most serious, pure intentions. I will not do anything bad to you. I am not at all what you think I am. I have nothing behind my soul. It is unlikely that your neighborhood will like a woman who until recently was picking up trash and lived in a construction worker's trailer, hiding from the police. Kayla was afraid to look at Adam, afraid to read the contempt in his eyes, but she couldn't stay silent any longer. She liked him, so she didn't want to mislead him. I'm a beggar. Everything I'm wearing I found in a dumpster. Some man left garbage bags of women's clothes and jewelry. I sold some of the jewelry, and the proceeds helped me get my life back on track. If I met a man who made me feel like a woman again, I would kiss him. This stranger saved me from certain doom. Kayla forced herself to look up at Adam and saw that he was smiling. She looked at him in amazement, not realizing what was going on. I was wondering where you got my ex-wife's ring. I was not crazy when I saw it on you, and this dress I bought for her in Milan. Now everything is back to normal. You can kiss your savior. The man laughed. He is in front of you. How? Kayla gasped. It can't be. Yes, it can. I guessed long ago that you were the owner of my ex-wife's things, but I didn't ask, though I was dying of curiosity. You know what? Adam raised his glass. I propose to drink. I really want to know how you ended up on the street, but even more I want to hear the answer to my proposal. Before we do that, let's switch to you, shall we? I have the right to demand it, you'll agree. He smiled again. In the dim light of the restaurant, Kayla looked even more charming than usual. Embarrassed by her confession, she expected Adam to immediately get up and leave for good. Instead, the man, as if nothing had happened, continued the interrupted conversation. The woman didn't know how to behave. Kayla, will you marry me? After all you've heard about me, are you still proposing marriage? Of course I am. I've learned to be a good judge of character. I know you're the kind of person I'd like to spend the rest of my days with. I don't care if you're rich or poor. I love you just the way you are. As for money, I have plenty. What do you say? Adam looked at Kayla expectantly. I agree, she whispered. Thank you. The man rejoiced, grabbed her hand, kissed it. He looked into the gray eyes of his chosen one and saw in them an answering fire of desire, felt that their heart beat in unison. I was afraid you would refuse me. After my wife cheated on me, I stopped trusting women, but you're different. That day, throwing my past into the trash, I didn't even realize that my heartfelt impulse would save someone's life. You must have secretly laughed at me when you first found me wearing my wife's clothes. No, were you? Adam exclaimed fervently. I had no intention of laughing at you. On the contrary, I saw it as a sign of fate. Who knows if we would have met under different circumstances? He was quiet. I know it's hard for you to talk about this, but I want to know how it happened that you lost your father's business. Was he a rich man? Yes. Kayla saddened. The memories she had been trying to forget for so long came flooding back, tears showing in her eyes. I've upset you, I'm sorry. Adam looked anxiously at the woman. He squeezed her hands, trying to be supportive. If it's hard for you, don't say anything. No. Kayla brushed away the traitorous tears. I need to talk about this. I've been alone for so long, I can't believe anyone is interested in my story. You're right, my father was rich. We'd had a house, a well-established business. It all came crashing down when my parents died in a car accident. My husband took advantage of my weakness and took everything. He threw me out on the street, left me with nothing but my pajamas. That's how I was faced with the choice of either dying or forgetting my pride and wearing other people's clothes to survive. Bastard? Adam threw. A deafening rage rose in him at the stranger. Could nothing have been done? Maybe there could be. Kayla grinned. But who would listen to the ramblings of a homeless woman? I didn't even have a passport. He'd bought the front men, thought of everything in detail. I couldn't deal with him and prove fraud because I'd given him the right to run the business. So I decided to get a good job, eventually open my own firm, and ruin his business. I must avenge his betrayal. He betrayed not even my gullibility, but the memory of my parents, and for that there is no forgiveness. And you know, Adam said thoughtfully, we have both experienced betrayal of people we love. My wife cheated on me with another man, whom I considered almost a relative, but I'm not going to take revenge on the cheater. She's already punished. But I will help you to restore justice, but it will be tomorrow. He looked slyly at the woman. Right now, I can't wait to be alone with you. They returned to the room. This night was the first, the most unforgettable and romantic. Adam had pre-ordered champagne, fruit, and flowers. Everything was already ready for their arrival. Even the candles were burning. Thank you. Kayla whispered in her lover's ear, snuggling into his arms. I didn't expect to be happy ever again. I didn't expect fate to give me such a royal gift either. Gently kissing her, Adam said, I can't wait any longer. I have been dreaming about you since the very first time we met. Let's not waste a minute. I want to hold you in my arms and not let you go anywhere. That night was the beginning of their new life. They returned to the city completely different. Stopping the car in front of Kayla's house, Adam said, I don't want to break up with you. Why don't you move in with me? I will. I just need to pack. Are you waiting for me? Just take the papers and the essentials. I won't let you wear my ex-wife's clothes anymore. It reminds me too much of her. I'd love to update your closet. The woman smiled and kissed him in gratitude. I'll be back soon. She promised and disappeared through the doorway. On Monday, they came to work as if nothing had happened, but the employees immediately noticed the change. Everyone was curious, but no one dared to gossip. Adam himself gathered the team in the conference room and announced, Friends, I have some important news to share with you. Kayla and I have decided to get married. Everyone present laughed, applauded, rushed to congratulate the young people. I'm so happy for Adam. Vigorously shaking Kayla's hand, Clara. We were afraid that after breaking up with his wife, he would do something to himself, very worried about her cheating. You are nothing like Nora. I'm sure you will be happy. Kayla, I didn't expect such a supportive, sympathetic, hugging girl. She still didn't believe that all the troubles were over. Adam invited everyone to the table. Immediately champagne appeared from somewhere, a light appetizer. When is your wedding? Someone asked. The wedding is already scheduled. We decided not to make it a lavish celebration. We will celebrate modestly. Friends, eat, drink, but don't forget about work. I'll leave you to it. He approached his fiancée. Darling, I have to go. I have some matters to attend to. I'll be right there. He kissed her on the cheek and left. Alone in his office, Adam called the head of security. Michael, I have a favor to ask of you. I need you to dig up some material on this man. He handed the man a photo of Kayla's ex-husband and a folder of documents. Find out everything you can about how he managed to take his wife's property without her consent. Then turn him in to the police? No, I'll get the files first, and then we'll figure out what to do with him. Try not to take too long to decide. A few days later, the head of security came to Adam with a report, and the man is not bad to make a profit at the expense of his wife, but he did not expect that he would have to deal with real investigators. Thought he intimidated the woman, and that was the end of it. If she'd wanted to, she'd have had him out in no time. She couldn't. He left her without a passport. Bastard. Michael remarked harshly. He gave the chief all the documents. I ordered an examination of the authenticity of the signature on the divorce papers. Forgery. Found the will Kayla's father left behind. The documents she signed were pretty slick, but we found clues there too. It's all recoverable with a good lawyer. Are we going to go to trial? No. Adam's pleading. We'll deal with him ourselves. We'll go to his place first, but we'll have to get the papers in Kayla's name. The next day they went to Gary's house, having made an appointment. The unsuspecting man opened the door. He was wearing a homemade suit that looked like pajamas. Adam strode through the house in his masterly manner. What did you want to discuss with me? Is it about business? Gary asked. Yes, business and this house. What does that mean? I'm not selling the house. I'm not going to buy it from you. With a conspiratorial wink, the unexpected guest smiled, making the homeowner uncomfortable. Explain what you want from me. I thought you had a business proposition. Yes, that's right. Adam, without waiting for an invitation, sat down on the sofa in the living room and put the documents on the table. I want you to take a look at this. He nonchalantly pushed the papers towards the confused man. What are these? Gary ran his eyes over one sheet, then another. The men watched as his expression gradually changed. What? What do you want from me? Nothing in particular. Adam answered calmly. I want you to sign these documents immediately and leave the house. You can't do this to me, shrieked a frightened Gary. I'm sure Kayla said those same words to you, but you showed her no pity and just threw her out on the street. I have decided to be merciful purely out of respect for my future wife. I'm offering you the choice of street or jail. And who is your future wife? Shivering with fear of the inevitability of punishment, the man asked. Kayla, your ex-wife whom you betrayed. Enough with the lyrics. Adam stood up resolutely from the couch, holding out a pen to Gary. Sign it or I'll call the police. But you'll give me time to pack, won't you? The hands of a man who had recently been confident in his impunity were shaking. He could not manage the pen, finally signed and handed the documents to Adam. No, he answered firmly. You will leave this house immediately, and neither I nor my wife will ever hear from you again." But Gary tried to object, belittlingly, looking at the man. Immediately, Michael moved at him, and he moved fearfully toward the exit. "You think you're going to get away with this? You don't know what I'm capable of and what connections I have." He shook his fist threateningly, the former owner of the house. "I don't think anyone will want to do business with you." Adam laughed. "All your partners know how you got into business." "Well, that's it." Rubbing his hands together contentedly, the man said as the front door slammed shut. Vengeance had come upon the traitor. Kayla was avenged. He didn't tell the details of the exposure to the bride. He handed over the documents right at the wedding. The woman rejoiced at the unexpected gift, but after a little thought, said with sadness in her voice, "I don't want to live in a house where my ex-husband ruled." Adam gladly fulfilled the wish of his beloved wife and organized the sale of the house. After the wedding, the young couple went on a vacation, which they were looking forward to. They wanted to be alone and rest from all the vicissitudes. Soon it turned out that Kayla is expecting her first child. Then the happy husband announced that he would build the house of his dreams, where they will finally find peace and family happiness.